Hello and welcome. This is Tiffany from Sage Online, logged in as Huck Fan as instructor, and we are going to take a look at setting up our gradebook in Moodle. So let's give it a try. We're going to start at our dashboard here, and keep in mind we can navigate to our courses in a couple different ways. First, we can scroll down to our course overview block, where we can switch that from card view, which you see here, or list, and also summary. So whichever is your preference, you can choose. And then Sage 203 is our course, so we can click that. Or you can go up here in the top header, go to My Courses, In Progress, and then choose the course that you're looking for. When the page refreshes, we're in our course. And from there, we're going to take a look. So this is our course as it is. We are going to go into our gearbox up here, and we're looking for gradebook setup. If you wanted to go in a different way using navigation, you can also choose grades and then hop on over that way. But we're going to choose gradebook setup. It's the most direct way. So we're in here. We're in gradebook setup. If you went in the other way, you might be in view. Just keep in mind there's two levels of tabs. First is view, then setup. Those are our two most common. And then if we're in view, you're going to have some options down here, but setup here we have gradebook setup, and that's where we want to be. Excellent. So this is our gradebook at the default level. There are no categories set up, and this is what we're going to make changes to today. So in order to set up our gradebook, we want to have an idea of what our weights look like. So you might have homework at 50%. Tests and quizzes at 30, and then participation at 5, and then something else at 15. So as long as that adds up together, that makes sense, you can keep going, and we can just start plugging away. So we're going to start by clicking Add Category. Here, we're going to give this a name. We're going to say Homework. Okay. And then I just want to show you while we're here really quick, if you do want to ever drop the lowest of your category, here's where you want to do it. Right here it's 0 as default. If you do want to drop the lowest test score, just keep in mind they all have to be of the same value. So 100, 100, 100. As long as they're all equal and they weigh the same, you can drop the lowest here. Moving on, we want to go ahead and click Save Changes. We're going to build up our categories, and afterwards we'll change our weights. So let's build our categories all together. So let's do a final exam here today. Okay. Some participation. And if you're following along, I'm going to pause my video and we'll join you when I've gotten mine all filled in. Okay, great. So we have all of our categories filled in. Now what we want to do is we want to add a little weight to it. So we want to make sure that we're adding up to 100. So let's go ahead and fill this out. What we want to do is, this is our weights category here, and that's what we're going to be looking at all the way down. So we're going to build a structure. So homework, let's say it's 40. Final exam, let's go with 10. Participation, 5. And again, these are just arbitrary numbers. Whatever you want to use is completely up to you. All right, and if this makes sense, then it will check out. Let's make something that doesn't make sense and see what happens. Okay, so if your total doesn't add up to 100, this is what's going to happen. So even if you have, an extra space over here at the end. So let's fix our totals, make sure they make sense. And let's fix that. If they stick, they made sense, they total 100, and you're good to go. Excellent. So if we're here, we're good. And that's the base of our grade book. So we can start filling it in. So now the question remains, how are we going to grade our students? Does our content live in Moodle, or are we grading them outside of Moodle? If you're doing an in-person class, we would use what's called a grade item if you're giving them a paper copy of an exam. So let's add one of those here for, let's say, our participation. So that's just something that we were going to grade on how they would behave in class and if they show up on time. So add a grade item. We're going to give that a name. I'm just going to do it based on a couple weeks. Then we're going to add a value. So default is 100. Let's keep that as is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to choose which category that falls under. So that's participation. And if we scroll down, that'll fall in there. And we see that the 100 points is assigned under the 5% of participation for the whole score. I'm going to pause my video. You can go ahead and fill some of yours in, and I'll see you after I've added a few more items to my gradebook. Excellent. So I've added a few more items here into my gradebook. And what we're going to do next is we're going to integrate some items that you'd incorporate through Moodle activities so we can see what a fully populated gradebook would look like. So let's get started on that. What we're going to do is we're going to navigate back to our course homepage, and we're going to follow these breadcrumbs here. We can also do that by going to my courses in progress and then following our course here. Okay, we're going to turn editing on. And then from here, we're going to find the module that we want our assignments to be, or assessments to be in. First item we're going to add would be an assignment. And I'm just going to star this because that's something I use quite frequently. Okay. Okay. Now I'm just going down quickly and adding some of the basics in here, but what we're going to pay attention to here when we're building our gradebook is the grade here. So default is the point and 100, keeping it basic, but what we're going to do is pay attention to the category. And here, so this would go under wherever we want it to be. So here it's going to be homework for us. And then we would go ahead and go into save and return to course. And when you're building your assignments, you're obviously going to fill in the, instructions and what they should do and when it's due and things like that. But for our purposes, we're just going to see what it looks like when it goes into the gradebook. So let's add a couple more items so we can see what they look like. So let's also add, for our purposes, a journal. Let's see that. Okay, grade, and then let's add that into our special project, just for fun. Let's add a quiz too, because we do have quizzes. And you can see that I'm just going back and forth here. I started an item, so that's my frequently used items. All activities, these are things that our students have to interact with regularly. And then our resources, those are just items that we'd add for our students to have access to. Quiz. All right. Quiz 1. Okay, so let's go straight into grading, and we'll throw that right into our quizzes. The rest of this doesn't quite so much matter, but you do see some items, and we can look at our other videos to see how to properly set up a quiz for your parameters. Excellent. So we do have a couple items added here. We can see what that looks like in our gradebook by going back again. And I'm sure you remember this navigation, the gear, and then gradebook setup. Okay, and now we can see our gradebook is a little more populated. So we have under homework, we do have an assignment that's worth 100 points. Still, this whole category here is worth 40% of the whole grade. We don't have a final exam in yet, but we can still fill that in the same way that we did the rest of this, and we can keep going through. And so you're going to keep doing these items until your gradebook is fully populated and it's reconciled to your syllabus. If you've had some ideas sparked while you're doing this process, you can obviously change your syllabus and make sure that your course is as robust as you'd like it to be. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can always reach out to us at 518-244-4580 or sageonline@sage.edu. Thank you so much and happy learning.